So I think I said one of the real key metrics for farmers is really what are your input costs, what are your operating costs it takes to you to be able to run your business, and it's really important. I know from our perspective, we've got a benchmark of 65% of your income going into the operating costs, so that's your input costs and so forth. But really being on top of that number, it's really important because that's the biggest influence you've got over your business to be able to drive your profitability and allow your cash to be able to spend on other things you need to within your business. So really understanding what your input costs are and what it costs to just run your farm from a day-to-day basis before you start looking at your interest costs. Everything else is just critical.
It's like the engine room that you're talking about, isn't it? The operating costs. It's you got to get that thing humming to get the results at the other end. So without having that control and having that focus on that operating expenditure, you're limiting yourself with what the business can do. So
knowing where all the money's going into the different buckets too is incredibly important, isn't it? Like, you talk about that OPEX or operating costs relative to income is a really important one, and again, it's a major driver of profitability at the end of the day. But then also, those below the line expenses around that finance bucket, that machinery investment, the living expenses within the business, which are significant as well now with multiple generations or multiple families in a lot of cases working within the operation now, and then again that CapEx and balancing that up too, to make sure that there is that retained strength or position, retained earnings in the business that then can be directed towards something specific, debt reduction, investment, and those sorts of things as well along the way.
Obviously we talk a lot about expenses and trying to control expenses, but that's actually only one part of your overall income and profitability. What, from an income perspective,
Absolutely.
The main driver?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, your biggest driver of profitability is actually maximising income. So looking at your business, understanding the gross margins and that sort of flexibility within an operation, how can we maximise the income that's generated that helps dilute those operating costs relative to income, helps us have that buffer to flow through to those bottom buckets of finance, machinery, living and profit. But yeah, again, it's very easy to sort of focus on cost, but at the same time too, we need to have the same energy intent put towards how do we maximise the income off every hectare we farm, leased, owned or otherwise. That's it's a starting point and the really key part of that profitability long term.
And that's obviously particularly important with the smaller scale farm, is you've got to make every hectare work.
Yep.
When you haven't got the scale, you haven't got the luxury of not watching that.
Yeah. And the nature of farming at the moment is too that it's very competitive. The margins are squeezing from a lot of angles, and so it's really making sure that you are optimising at every point you can and where you can control, because there's a lot of things in farming we have no control over. Can't control markets, we can't control the price of these sorts of things. Control the weather. Yeah. But there's certain things that we can control, and I think keeping that key focus around what can we have influence on, where can we make decisions that hopefully improve our strength and de-risk the business, and really making sure we put that time and effort and energy into those.